Welcome to Cooking with Gerry. Beautiful start to the day. Sun's just over the mountain and I'm going to start my breakfast. I have the fire going on low. I have about half a cup of water going into the saucepan and I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of virgin coconut oil into the saucepan. 1, 2. Taking my spatula to remove the oil that's still left on the spoon. And close the lid. So the first item that's going in is right here. This is 2 small handfuls of raw peanuts. 2 different kinds. One is local, the other one comes from the coast. And 1 tablespoon of flax seed and 1 tablespoon of sesame seed that I washed and rinsed. And now they're going to go into the frying pan with the water and coconut oil. And this I'll probably let cook for about 10 minutes on a low heat. Once it gets to a boil, the water, I will lower the heat as much as I can while still maintaining a boil. And right now there's no wind, so there won't be a problem with the wind blowing the low fire out. I'm just going to mix that up a little bit. There is the option also to soak these items overnight, but I didn't because I didn't plan for it. During the cooking process, I put a bit more water than I normally do because these will absorb a lot of that water. So I'm going to cover the lid, and the other 3 ingredients here, I have a sweet potato washed, and I also clean the skin with this scouring sponge. I like to eat the skin if it's still in good shape. This one is. And here I have a beetroot that I washed, but I still have to peel it. And here is an apple that I washed, and I'll cut everything up. But we're going to come back in about 10 minutes when it's time to put the other ingredients into the frying pan. So now 10 minutes later, and it's time for the next ingredients to go in. If you've never cooked flax seed or soaked it in water, it creates kind of like a gel. So now it's a water and a gel with the coconut oil. And I'm going to put in the beetroot that I peeled and cut into pieces. Mix that around a little bit. And the sweet potato I like to soak in water for at least a few minutes. The sweet potato feels a little bit sticky when you first cut it. And the soaking also removes a little bit of the starch. So I like to soak it at least for a few minutes. And that's now going to go in. These pieces are a bit bigger than the beetroot because it takes not so long to cook, and I like to have some consistency to my sweet potato. I don't want it to be melt in your mouth cooked. So now I'm going to mix all those. And I'll turn the heat back up so we can come back to a boil. This might be about 5 minutes. And in these 5 minutes, I have some information to share with you about healthy eating. I found a YouTube video by a doctor named Sten Ekberg, E-K-B-E-R-G. He has a lot of really good videos, and somehow I found him again last week, and I've watched so far 4 of his videos. But the one I want to share with you is called Top 10 Healthy Foods You Must Eat. If you want more information on that video, that's the title of the video. And he's got way more information than I can share with you. He's a doctor, a former Olympic athlete. So much better if you want to invest the time to watch his video. Top 10 healthy foods you must eat. While I chop up the apple I want to go in last because I like it to be crunchy. I don't want it to be like an applesauce. So these are not in any order, these 10 items that I'm going to share with you right now. No particular order. Number 1 is the non-starchy vegetables, like leafy greens, spinach, celery, also leafy purples, like the purple romaine lettuce or the purple cabbage. Green cabbage is good too. But also broccoli, Brussels sprouts. Really good for the body, good for the gut flora. It's important when managing your human form that you're able to eliminate the waste on a regular basis, because that waste is toxic, and the longer it stays in your system, the more toxicity stays in your system. So that's number 1. Number 2, I have a list here, is berries. The strawberry, blackberry, raspberry, blueberry. Those are the best as far as fruit goes, in terms of the amount of sugar that's in it and the other beneficial properties. A banana is a healthy fruit, but it has a lot of sugar. Orange, also a healthy fruit. Many people drink orange juice thinking it's the same, but it's not quite the same because it's not going to have the fiber that a whole orange would have. So that was number 2. Number 3 is meat. Beef, pork, chicken, fish. And I learned recently that the smaller animals are also very beneficial. By smaller animals, I mean like rabbit. And here in this country, it's a delicacy to eat guinea pig. I was living at an animal farm a couple years ago, and that was part of their animals. They had about 70 rabbits, which I was responsible for taking care of for 7 months. Twice a day I would go and take care of the rabbits. But on the other side of the rabbits was about almost 500 guinea pigs. So the main thing with any kind of meat is that the animal gets to live as nature intended. So for example, the cow, it should be able to roam the fields, and it's supposed to only eat grass, not the grains and the other foods that they are normally given when you have these factory farms. So when you are considering what kind of meat or fish, it's better to get organic, and cow grass-fed. Chickens should be able to eat what they find on the ground, worms, ants, other critters that they can find. And fish also, if they are in factory farmed fish, they are very cramped. They don't get to swim around very much to clean themselves. And also with these concentrated operations, they use a lot of antibiotics to get rid of disease from the too many population in a small space. And also they use these antibiotics to make the animals and fish fatter quicker to make more money. So it's important to try and get as much as possible the animal that was able to live like an animal. You can do some research locally where you can find a farm that has these kinds of animals, and you can order a specific amount. Sometimes there's a minimum quantity you have to buy. So when you're choosing meat, try and go for organic and how nature intended the animal to live. The next one is eggs. Eggs are very healthy. Years ago we learned that we should avoid eggs because of the cholesterol, but recent science has discovered that the cholesterol in an egg doesn't contribute to heart disease or heart attack. But the same with the meat and the chicken. Try and find eggs from chickens that were able to live like chickens. The next one is nuts. Nuts are really healthy, lots of good fats, protein, fiber. The number one nut to eat, according to Dr. Sten Ekberg, and he's probably going by the science, is macadamia. When you have any kind of nut seed or dried fruit, it's best to keep it in the fridge or the freezer to preserve the freshness. I just put the apples in, and I think in about 2 minutes this will be done. And the next on the list is seeds. Same kind of thing as the nuts. Best to keep them in a fridge or freezer to preserve the freshness. Also, when you're using nuts, seeds, dried fruit, dried beans, or any kind of dried product like dried corn, it's advisable to wash and rinse beforehand to remove any kind of field dust that collected on the item on its way from the farm to the processing plant to the store and to your home, especially if it's in a bulk food store where the bags are usually open and they're not vacuum sealed. And the next one is avocado. He had put avocado on its own as the item because the avocado has so many nutritional properties and it's very beneficial for the body. If you're in a city or a country that doesn't grow avocado, I was living in Canada recently and I started buying the frozen avocado because too many times I had let the fresh avocado 1 or 2 days too long and the inside had become rotten. So I would wait until they came on sale. It was about $3 for a bag of frozen avocado, and you can use that. It's not the same as the fresh avocado, but the bonus is you're not going to have to throw it out. You can take it out of the freezer, take as much as you want, allow time for it to thaw, and then once you've taken your quantity from that bag of frozen avocado, close the bag, put it back in the freezer until next time. It's good. I used it for some salads, for some cooked dishes, and I made avocado brownies a couple times. So avocado, really healthy. And the last two, one is tubers or root vegetables, like your potato, sweet potato. Here I can also find yucca, which is the root of a plant. Very high in starch, very high in carbohydrate, very high in sugar. So here I have a sweet potato. I'm going to turn the fire off. So it's lots of sugar, but because everything is balanced with the peanuts and the seeds and the coconut oil, and I'll also put some other extra virgin oil, It's fairly balanced, but I will still eat only about once a month the sweet potato. And I rarely eat potato. I'm going to show this to you once I finish. The last item on the list is herbs and spices. For me, in my cooking, I only use salt. But there's lots of herbs and spices. You're going to have your favorites. Many people have a collection of jars of different spices, because the herbs and the spices provide a lot of other nutrition, vitamins, minerals that you can't get from the food. So those were the top 10 foods, healthy foods you must eat by Dr. Sten Ekberg. Great video that I recommend you watch on YouTube. So I'm going to open this and bring the camera so you can see what my breakfast looks like. I also thought to put an egg, but I think that's enough nutrition for one meal. So there it is. Looks really tasty. It might be too much for one meal, in which case I will have the rest for the next meal. So, oh, there we go. Thanks for joining us once again and for listening to my repeat of the top 10 healthy foods you must eat. And I'm really hungry, so I'm going to eat this in a couple of minutes once I clean everything and get myself ready for breakfast.